Welcome to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast with me, Caro Sison. This podcast is for self-employed business owners just like you, who really want to grow their business and become successful and profitable, but without all the stress and hassle. I want to share my 30 years of business experience to show you how simple it can be to earn more money and how you can get organised without needing a business degree or any other qualifications. I'll be talking about the easy steps that you can put in place right now to start earning more money today and to help you get the business that you deserve and dream of. Without further ado, let's get started. This week's podcast is sponsored by Pocket PA, helping self-employed business owners to get organised, understand their finances and do their accounts all in one place using a powerful online tool. If you're serious about making a profit and having a successful business, then using a simple digital web app like Pocket PA is the best way to grow and scale your business. Visit pocketpa.com for more details and start managing your money like a pro today. Hello, it's Caro Sison here, and welcome to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode. I want to welcome to the show today Matt Boyles, and he's the founder and CEO of Fitter Confident You, an online personal training business tailored for gay, bi and trans men, and someone whom I never tire of speaking to. It's great to shine a spotlight this week on personal training as a self-employed business and the importance of creating a niche in a crowded market. Matt talks about how you can become super successful through niching your business and how it can really help you to stand out. I'm sounding a little bit croaky in this episode, so please forgive my voice, but I hope you'll still enjoy the episode and all that Matt has to share with us. Welcome. Thanks for coming on the podcast today, Matt.
Thank you, Caro. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really grateful you invited me. My name is Matt Boyles. I am the creator, founder, CEO, whatever you want to say, of an online fitness company called Fitter Confident You, which at its heart offers online personal training, which is tailored for the LGBTQ plus community, helping people build strength, fitness, confidence from the inside out.
Amazing, Matt. And how long have you been sort of in this sector in particular? Would you want to share a little bit about your sort of journey into self-employment? Because I think that would be a really, really interesting story.
I'd love to. So we actually need to, I'll do this quick, but we do need to go back to when I was probably about 5 or 6. And in fact, no, 8. When I was 8, because that was when I went to big school, or compared to what I've been at big school. And previously, like before that, I remember quite enjoying like things like rounders and skipping and low stress sport and fitness. Went to the big school, suddenly in with all the other like grown-up kids. And the main sport was rugby, very rugby focused school. And being a spindly, arty child, I didn't really enjoy rugby. In fact, I hated it and didn't enjoy being beaten up in the mud twice a week in winter. And it was the 80s. There was very little provision of other sports or encouragement in PE, basically. It was that. And because my school happened to be going through a brilliant period with lots of good rugby teams. So like the rugby team were cherished and put on a pedestal, and everyone else was sort of, you're still here, are you? Doing rugby, but like not very enjoyably with teachers who didn't really enjoy teaching it. So there was no inspiration about fitness and sport growing up, not particularly.
Did you feel that there wasn't anyone that sort of was like you in that same sphere, or did everybody enjoy rugby? Was that something? Were there other kids like you?
Oh, there were loads. Like, absolutely. It was very much a them and us. There was a big swathe of the school pupils who didn't like rugby either. Partly that was because I was gay, because I felt different. Obviously, I didn't know what it was, couldn't put it into words, but I felt sort of other and not always necessarily included. Didn't really know who I was, and obviously not all kids who don't like rugby are gay, but quite a few are. So I went through that situation at school. I tried a bit of running because I'm more built for that, and that was okay, but then nothing like particularly supportive or inspirational from anyone. Same, went to university, didn't do anything there particularly. Moved to London, got a job in marketing stuff, which was something that I sort of fell into, which was fine, and actually worked there a few jobs in different marketing agencies. And then in my mid-20s, I joined a boot camp randomly. And I suddenly realized that sport and fitness, or all of those things, can actually feel very different to how I thought they'd feel, or how I thought they'd make me feel, like memories they'd bring back, things like that. And while that wasn't what I wanted to settle on, I then joined a gym and started seeing and feeling other changes and seeing all these other ways that you can look after yourself. And it really lit a fire. Still working in an agency, but then a few more years, got more busy, couldn't go to the gym as often. I just decided, okay, well, first thought was, I really like this. I'd like to do it more. Is there any way I could be paid to do this more? Oh, I could be a personal trainer. So I started studying to become a personal trainer. Didn't tell anyone, did it very subtly. Started building up some clients when I was half qualified. And then when I was fully qualified, quit and did a very traditional training job originally. Stood in the park, trained people there, counted their reps, and that was great. And I enjoyed it. And it was that first step to what I wanted to be doing. But I wasn't changing the world.
Did you do your main job alongside sort of transiting into becoming self-employed? Is that you were sort of balancing the two side by side, were you?
Yes. And I'm very grateful that I was able to do that. Actually, I did miss out a step because, yes, so when I was qualifying and studying, I was training sort of friends and people I knew while still working full time. And then when I was, I was fully qualified, I started discussing it with the agency, and I'd been there for 6 years and they were great and very understanding. So actually I went part-time in the office so I still had some regular income coming in. So that actually was a real safety net while I was building clients. And then about 6 months after that, I had enough clients and I went full-time PT in the park.
So there was quite a transition period for you. It was around 6 months. Is that what you're saying?
From leaving, but I mean, in terms of thinking about leaving, it was 18 months. That I did it really slowly. Like you can do a PT qualification in something like 2 weekends now. I did it in over the course of about a year steadily because there was no rush and I wanted to make sure it was right, which it was.
Did you have any reservations about being self-employed? Were there any sort of thoughts around the whole idea of self-employment, or was that always something that you felt that was going to be where you would end up?
Definitely wasn't where I thought I'd end up because I only had experience of very traditional jobs, both in my family, people I knew. Like no one was really an entrepreneur or doing anything off their own back. And there was no shade there. Like my dad was a fantastically successful dentist, ran different practices and grew businesses, but which I guess actually, as soon as I've just said that out loud, was kind of entrepreneurial now I think about it. I've just realized my dad actually is an entrepreneur disguised as a dentist. I never put that together. Anyway, so actually things like that had seeped in, but equally, when I mentioned that I was going to become a personal trainer, my parents were dead against it because they grew up they live in the Midlands. They were obviously older. They'd never considered paying someone to help them with their fitness because they did a bit, but that was the danger point for them. Like, don't leave a sensible, well-paying job to do something self-employed. But I knew it would work. I just knew because I was so much more passionate about it and it was where I wanted to be. And that freedom that you get from becoming your own boss was really inspiring and just made me so happy. And built up a client base and worked in Southwest London, mobile trainer with some weights in my car, in the boot of my car, things like that. And loved it. I did love it. And it really, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be doing this now. But I did it for about 6.5, 7 years. And it was around that, about 5 years ago, I'd started seeing the rise of some online trainers, Joe Wicks, even people like that, some very more general ones, but ones who really, whatever you think of him, he paved the way for me to be doing what I'm doing now. So I'm always grateful to him. And I looked at that and thought, well, maybe I could do online training, but maybe I could do it better or bring other things in. And also that was when I really decided to niche down and start working. Well, looking back at my own journey and realizing that my own looking after and building my fitness and strength had helped me find myself so much as a gay man, finding my confidence, my voice, and realizing so many of my community probably felt the same and would benefit from it if it was done. But the fitness industry always used to be so serious and boys club and black and white photos, and that's not me. And I wanted to make it fun and silly sometimes and accessible and something that people felt confident that they could actually get the wheels turning with. So that was the birth of Fitter, Confident You, which is what we're speaking about now.
And I think that that's really reflected in your Instagram. I love watching your stories. They're all really vibrant. They're humorous. It's proper social media at its best. And I love looking at you sort of interacting. You're really good on that side, Matt.
Thank you.
So when you moved into becoming self-employed, did you have any fears around working for yourself, or did you just always have this inner confidence that you just knew that it was what you wanted to do? It was your sort of idea of a freedom-based business and that you were going to hack it, whatever? Or did you sort of have any doubts or concerns when you began?
I do have an innate optimism, which some would say was blind optimism at some point, and sometimes it is. But I knew it would always work some way. And equally, I knew that I could go back to marketing if it really didn't, or I had to go part-time, or I've got other skills that I'd learned over 10 years working in offices and for companies that I knew I'd always be okay. but I obviously wanted to make this work. And because I'd built up some decent clients, and then actually I found other people who found clients for you, who sort of employed personal trainers. So that was also good for bread and butter, building my confidence as a trainer anyway, like right at the start. And just helping me get experience in the industry and working with clients. So I guess if I was really honest, no, I couldn't be 100% sure it was always going to work, but I was 90% confident that it would. And it did.
Yeah. And I think having a fallback position is also quite a nice security blanket. It's kind of like your insurance policy, isn't it? If you have done something before and you know that you can earn a living in a job, and you can always refer back to that if you needed to bounce back. So can I just ask, what would you say has been one of your biggest challenges that you faced on your business journey? Can you think of anything that's really stood out for you? Any sort of moments that have been like, whoa, I'm not sure that I was expecting that to happen?
I absolutely can. So when I started the online training, I actually did an amazing course that was specifically for people who were face-to-face trainers to become online trainers. Now, this was 5 years ago. The market is flooded with trainers. In fact, I joked recently that I think there's soon going to be more trainers training trainers than there are trainers training clients. So I'd done this brilliant course, really learned a lot, and was building it, like knew how to build my business and brand and following and what I was doing. And it took off so much quicker than I thought. And after about 5 months, so I'd been starting to end some of the face-to-face client training, but I was keeping some on. So I'm busy with that, but I was really busy with the online. But with the online, it was so new and magpie-like. I was obsessed with it, like the shiny and like, oh, wow, I can reach more people. I can help more people. I can grow a business. And I was on my phone a lot because I was replying to every text, every tweet. I was following up with people, trying to get new followers, do new posts. Like I'd created a Facebook group that was buzzing. So I was online so much. And I started to not feel right. And I'm grateful that because I work in the wellness industry, I was able to recognize that. But the warning signs for me were I didn't feel like working out. I was low energy. I wasn't sleeping well, but also like the real turning point. I'm an extrovert most of the time. I get my energy being around other people, but it got to the point where friends would invite me to do things and I didn't want to do it. And I was like, hang on, this isn't me. This is a sign of depression and like anxiety and all of those steps. So, and then I realized what I'd been doing was, again, due to my extrovert nature, connecting with all these people, but trying to make them my friends as well, like all the people in the group, all my clients, like having these much deeper relationships than was needed, like and hearing some serious things sometimes, but also like just that continual, but there was no switch off. I stepped out of that. I went away for a weekend by myself. The first 36 hours, put the phone in the safe, didn't even look at it, and just sort of slept and swam and read a book and slept and swam and ate. And then the final day, I started coming up with how can I manage this so I don't end up like that again, and basically working out how to keep clients in that situation at arm's length. And since then, it's been mostly fine.
Did you just potentially get over-invested in each person that you were with and created sort of too much of a sort of a personal relationship? Or do you feel, looking back, there should have been sort of more boundary setting so that you had, these are my clients, these are my friends, and you'd always be professional with your clients, but you'd sort of blurred the lines a little bit because you were perhaps over delivering or just becoming too invested in them?
All of that. I had no boundaries. I would let people message me on any platform at any time. I would wake up in the morning and pick my phone immediately. And just because I thought that's what I'd never grown up done, like the personal training business in the park before was so traditional. It was like, well, this is what you do. You turn up, get like it was in inverted commas easy. The online was so new to me and so exciting, and I was earning a bit more money than I'd earned before. I was like, well, maybe if I do this, I can earn more and I can grow and I can reach more people. And I had no breaks at that time. I did, like, partly that's why it was so successful and it stayed so successful, because I threw everything at it in that first 6 months. But for my mental well-being, I would have had, things would have gone much more further south if I hadn't been able to spot and recognize that things were not all well inside me. And I realized, like, well, hold on, I don't want to do this business if this is what it's going to be like. So finding that middle ground of growing a successful business, reaching and connecting with people, but doing it at arm's length and not taking it home. And that was a learning curve. I set some good boundaries from that three-day break. And then from there, I got better and better at it over time. But That's one of the best things I can say. Set boundaries from the start. Like when people can contact you, how they can contact you. They're not your friends. They're free. You can be friendly with them, but they're paying you. It's a professional service. And also they don't want a friend. They want a personal trainer who's going to be firm with them when needed. So obviously it was a learning curve and a very steep one, but I'm happy that I came out the other side.
Yeah, no, that's a really great, interesting point, because I think that when you're starting to grow your business, you obviously, you're often looking to over deliver. You're so excited that you've got a growth trajectory. You've got people being attracted to what you're offering, and it's just so exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can often be blinded by the extra income, and you just think if you're not being overly nice all the time to these people, that they might not want your services, and that can be a concern because obviously they're providing you with an income. So you just get into this catch-22 situation, perhaps, where you're just over delivering all the time, and it's just draining and it's exhausting for you. And it is that boundary setting. So I love that notice that you've got. Could I just turn to another aspect of the business side of things and about your sort of relationship with money, and sort of compare that where you started? Were you good with your finances? Is that something that you've learned on the job, or is that something that you've had challenges with as you've gone along?
No, and vulnerability time, I'm still not very good with it because I've never had proper training. Like I'm actually quite passionate about this. I really think Britain, any country, would be in a much better state if there was financial training in school, if there was entrepreneurial training in schools to give. Not everyone has to do what we do, and not everyone's built for it and wants it, but to offer that as a career path. Like when I was in school, we did a so I'm going on a sideways rant here, but just quickly, we did one of those career computer fill in what you want, and it said you should be a tree surgeon. I should? Okay then, computer. Some kind of that at a much earlier age would have been amazing. Like I'm 41 and still very much a novice. I've got an accountant and that's fine, and I know it bits, but I know that knowing my finances and what's going on better will only benefit me in lots of different ways.
And do you feel that you just don't have enough time to spend more time on it? Do you feel that it's because you're doing so much of the doing in your business, or you're sort of with the marketing or other aspects that are just pulling you? Or do you feel that it's just something that you will address and that you do need to spend time sort of educating yourself on? How do you feel about that?
I definitely need to spend more time on it, and it's not a time thing. It's a more vulnerability time. It's a trait of mine that if I find things a bit confusing, I don't always ask for the help I need on it as well. Like I said, I know enough for it to not be a problem, but when I invest more time and learning in it, I know it will pay off. I've got a bit of a mental block. It is one of my blocks around finances and being like, it's that if I don't know the detail, then I can't worry about it, which I know is so backwards.
Yes, it's sort of a bit of a burying your head in the sand. So I talk about meerkats and ostriches, and you're being a bit of an ostrich, burying your head in the sand on that, but you're managing.
Yeah.
And because you've got an income coming in, you sort of know that you're doing well enough.
I know, but I don't want to manage them. And like a CEO should, and we shouldn't use the word should, but should know his or her or their figures in a bit more detail than I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it. Caro, I put this out into the universe in a very public setting. Right. I'm even going to write it down.
Thanks for sharing with that, because I think a lot of people presume that you would already know all these things about finances if you're going to move into self-employment, but it's just not the case. And I feel unless we have a parent that's able to support us, or a really great friend that we can watch, or a mentor that sort of guides us through these things, where would we learn it from? It's a real hit and miss journey, I feel, for us, certainly in the UK, to be able to get ourselves financially competent with our finances and business money. And it's scary. My daughter has dyscalculia and my son has dyslexia. So these sorts of things aren't sort of mainstream things that people are being taught. And if you don't engage at school, then it can be, a real challenge for you to sort of elicit this sort of information. So thanks for really sharing that. One of the other things I would just be really interested to know, what would you share with yourself, your sort of 18-year-old self, if you were to look back now at your career path and your career journey? What would you say to yourself back then?
I would say, 18. I was a toddler at 18. I would say start reading a bit more business and personal development books, I would say see if you could meet, hang out, be around some people who are doing this sort of things. Because actually, once I got into it, I adore this life now. And obviously, if something awful happened, I could absolutely go back to working in 9 to 5 in an office. But this just fulfills me. And being an entrepreneur and a business owner really does speak to a huge part of my personality. So actually, as opposed to waiting till I'm 30 to start it, why not start when you're 18? You don't necessarily, or get a job while you're figuring out what idea you're going to do, what you're going to pursue, or work in like a startup. But I just very much fell into that job in marketing, which again taught me lots of things, met some great people, met some great friends who I'm still in touch with very closely. And maybe that's what I was meant to do. Like maybe I wasn't mature enough to run a business. So I was a bit later, but I think I could have better equipped myself with better knowledge, education, people, inspiration, things like that at an earlier age.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I know you've done super well recently. You've got an article in Hello magazine. That's like absolutely incredible, Matt. How did that come about?
One of my goals for this year is to raise my profile, putting yourself out there even more, but in the press, in media, as opposed to just, obviously I do a lot of organic stuff on different social media and I've got an email list, but that earned media when you get PR, so it's so valuable when it's the right PR, obviously. So working with Nicola, who runs NJPR, who's been brilliant at connecting me with different relevant journalists, including Hello, and some other really exciting things. Metro's coming up, got an article in there fairly soon. That's led to other things as well. Finally, people knew who I understood, who I was speaking to, and that I had done it, so they could do it because I had benefited firsthand from a bit of fitness, bit of nutrition, bit of well-being. So it made it relatable. It also gave me the empathy to understand when someone's not comfortable in a gym. Like some straight trainers do get it, but like one said to me once, I can't understand why a gay guy's not comfortable in the gym. All those other guys in there in shorts and t-shirts. And I'm like, you just don't get it and you never will. But that's not his fault. It's not his lived experience. But for example, for a lot of my clients, the idea of going into a gym fills them with anxiety because it's just like being back in the school changing room when they're 11. So that's why I always offer home workouts and other ways of approaching things and soften the edges to make it all accessible and something that people do want to stick to, because that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, I love your whole approach, and I'm really excited that I've seen you grow so much just this year. So it's been good. So Matt, if our listeners would like to find out more about you and get in touch and connect with you, what should they do? I'll put it into the show notes, but what would you suggest? Where do they reach out to you and find you?
Well, I've got a free gift for them, if that's okay. If you pop on over to fitterconfidentyou.net/strong core plan, you can download my strong core guide, which has been downloaded by more than 7,000 people. And the reason I put this together is a core, and you'll hear lots of people talk about engage your core and use your core, all of that. A very wise personal trainer said to me about when I was studying, like 11 years ago, you can't fire a cannon from a canoe. A strong core connects your upper and lower body, but it also helps your posture, holds everything in tight, helps you stand up straight, prevents backache. So this is a free guide with some home core workouts, a little bit of info on nutrition, and just some sensible Fitter Confident You guidance for you. So fitterconfidentyou.net/strong core.
Lovely. Oh, that's so good, Matt. And I'm going to put that in the show notes. And also you are on Instagram. I love your stories. So I will put a link to that as well, because you are hilarious. You always brighten up my day. So thank you so much. I really hope you've enjoyed today's podcast with Matt and I. Have a great week, whatever you are up to. And I'll catch up with you again next week. And I look forward to spending more time with you again.
Thanks for listening to the Earn More, Stress Less podcast with me, Caro Syson. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then do hit subscribe so we can catch up again soon. And please kindly leave a review if you've got a moment, and share with anyone else that you think this podcast could help on their self-employed journey. If you're ready to make bigger breakthroughs in your business life and want to get way more organised and understand your finances the really simple way, then start your very own 14-day free trial today using the super powerful software tool Pocket PA that I made for my own son and daughter. Go to pocketpa.com/podcast and let's get you on the way to earning more money and stressing much less. Have a great week, whatever you're doing.